Welcome to my humble little office. My name is Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. This is a day in the office on February 7th, 2026 at approximately 3:38 p.m. PST, unless I'm blind, which is probable. Yeah, it's 3:33, my apologies. In any event, as you well know, this is not a planned broadcast, as it were, as I am just puttering around in the office getting things organized. So, first and foremost, we always check, make sure that the office itself is set up right. And then we can start making things happen. Now, don't require that one. But, what is this? Sure, can't see with my glasses on, can't see with them off. We do have to take care of that. Okay. I did not get a lot done that I was supposed to today. I've had a real energy problem. And you guys probably go through the same thing from time to time. Did that part. Now, book list for what? Oh, for email. Of course. I do kind of have to have that together, don't I? So, what do we got? We have, whoa, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Not a lot. I ended up, in all fairness, I had trouble getting up in the morning at all. Energy level just was not what it should have been. But I did manage to get, played a little bit of Skyrim, got carrots cooked to drop in the freezer for stew for later, and managed to make sure we got both lunch. Plus, of course, the important thing, I guess the real important one from my standpoint, was that normal thing about just starting to get menus, or not menus, but routine setup. Where'd I put it? Speaking of routines, the one thing that is working for me regarding technology is this whole idea. What is that? If that one gets done, modify that a little and make sure that it gets done by then. Okay, so we have a routine set up to make sure that we end up getting laundry done on a regular basis. I'll tell you, when you're going in this many directions, having a set of alarms in place is a coping mechanism. It doesn't actually cure much, but it does help you cope. Now that's every Saturday, and I still require one every Friday. And let's get I think we've got a title on there available. Label. There we go. See, this way I can make certain that we start getting ahead. Getting things organized and done in the right fashion. Done and save. And we now have groceries ordered, laundry done, and of course the important factor of getting up. Why that is there is anybody's guess. Now, this particular one, there we go. Yes, I talked to myself a fair chunk, but on the other hand, it works. So, what do we got going on here? So, what did you manage to get done today there, Will? I'll tell you, it really is imperative if you're going to move ahead that you get things organized properly. Now, where is Plum? So we take a look at this. We didn't get out of the house today. Of course not. So, now, this is just the start of the rebuild for the of the rebuild for my one box. And did I put down a second? I did. Again, there is something very important to consider here, and that is that when you organize things in a proper fashion, it is so much easier to make them run properly. Kind of like if you're a mechanic, and I am no mechanic, but my dad used to tell me that if the pistons do not fire in the right order, the engine will not run well. Same thing applies to every business, every industry you ever get into. Joe, how you doing? You are in now. Wu came in with the gold. You are in with the silver. And we are making headway here. Slowly but surely. But it really boils down to making absolutely certain that when I am doing things, that I do ensure they get put together properly. Now, B is who? Because I know I ran into an interesting problem down the road. And B. And of course, bear in mind, including in this one box is my board of advisors. Diablo, I never did play. I used to play Doom on my PC, and in all fairness, I enjoyed Doom. I couldn't track Diablo, so for me, it was something I just basically ignored. It was too busy and too quick. Doom, on the other hand, I did manage to enjoy, and did take time out of my day to play it. It was one of those short term distractions. And the reason I call it short term is because when I was playing it, I eventually burned the computer. That had nothing to do with the game. But they were enjoyable. Now, I think I've got his. Now, question for you. While I am going through this, I think that's in August. February, March, April, May, June, July. Here we are. I personally enjoyed it. What did you think of it? Whoop. Went away and Delaware very quick. Oh, there is no question. Skyrim, I have literally put thousands of hours into. What's the other one here? Warcraft. I found Warcraft too difficult to sort out in my head. And that would be my problem, not anybody else's. Where am I? Put that there. But no, I'm currently running I'm running an Argonian. And I do that, I use the Argonian because, I'm using an Argonian because of the fact they don't have to breathe underwater, or more to the point, they do breathe underwater. There's a lot underwater in Skyrim that I find extremely enjoyable. The artwork down there is something bizarre. And given I spent a lot of time underwater when I was a kid, before I drowned, that kind of screwed up my interest. But I have right now. I just started a new campaign, in Skyrim, and the neat part about it is why, and this is why when I was asked last night, they asked me if I do anything that is not related to writing, and I'm like, not that I know of. Even the characters even the names I came up with for Skyrim will be introduced into my writing. Now, where's the best place to put that? Not likely to get in there. So we go. Hope that was right. And that. Yep. Wait. And I can add that afterwards. Okay. Now that I've done that. No, Skyrim I run an Argonian because I don't have to worry about him trying to breathe underwater. Yeah, it would. I mean, it's very important. It's very important, Joe, especially when you start looking at the age. It's extremely important that you do things that the parent enjoys. Like I found with Kira's with my wife's father, with my father-in-law, he is really happy that I'm actually making progress in reading the Book of Mormon because they're Mormon. Now, I don't have an attachment to any one of the religions, but he certainly is very happy with the fact that I'm actually paying attention to it. Let's see. We will change that name. Here we are. We're going to do that. On the same line. Pop that there. Um, the reality is, Woo, I don't have a problem with it. It tells you one thing in the Book of Mormon. Now, bear in mind, I've read the Bible itself, cover to cover, and the one thing that the Book of Mormon has said that is markedly different is that in the Book of Mormon it tells you no one should place themselves above anyone else. Okay. In the Christian Bible, in the Gideon edition, it doesn't tell you that. Okay. We're taught that, but the Bible itself, I didn't see it say it anywhere directly in it. Now, don't get me wrong. This does not mean I'm walking in one path or the other. Because if I were to go into that, the reality is for me, okay, and that's something that's got to be very clear here. I consider myself Christian because I do believe in God, I do believe in Christ. Okay, but what is taught in the Bible, what I pulled out of it, because my dad, who was the superintendent of Sunday schools when I was growing up, he was absolutely adamant we should all read the Bible cover to cover. So I swore on his deathbed that I would, and I did. But I'll tell you, what is written in the Bible and what my father taught, the things that are written in the Bible are not being emulated in the modern world very well. Whoop, maybe. Yep. They really aren't. But in the Book of Mormon, it tells you right directly that you should not, you should not, or more to the point, you must not treat anybody as though you are better than they are. In the Christian Bible, it does not tell you that in the Bible that I saw, anyway. Okay. That said, they teach essentially the same thing. But the Book of Mormon links directly to the Christian Bible, which makes sense considering the Christian Bible, the Christianity does incorporate the Mormon faith. Jake, how are you? Glad you could join us. Yeah, and I could get into that, but the reality is, I don't tell people what they should believe. Aside from, there's only 3 laws that I personally follow. Okay, and that is, I follow the 3 karmic laws. Be true to yourself first. This does not mean walk on anybody. Okay, do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Basically, it boils down to if you desire people to treat you nicely, treat them nicely. If you desire people to be honest with you, be honest with them. It doesn't guarantee things will work out, but it does stack the deck in your favor. Okay. You know, so yeah, and when I look at this idea of there being 2 different entities, the funny part about it is if you look at what's written there, it's not so much 2 different entities, but there are 2 different thought processes. But it would stand to reason when you think about it that when you're dealing with different thought processes, the biggest thing. Oh, there is one other thing I found with the Book of Mormon. It's pretty cut and dried. Okay, and do not ask me to ever start quoting passages. Okay, I couldn't tell you where I find it if my life depended on it. But I will tell you this. It's pretty clear in the Book of Mormon when they talk about forgiveness and forgiving your sins and that sort of thing. It's pretty black and white. Your sins are forgiven if you don't go back and repeat the same process. Okay, this is something that they teach as far as repentance go. Okay, you're forgiving your sin, you're getting your forgiveness, but the big thing, and this is something that I discovered a long time ago, when Christ showed up to forgive your sins, okay, he was forgiving the ones that had happened before he arrived or before you knew about him. He wasn't forgiving he wasn't forgiving your sins for all the things you were about to do. Okay, and this is where people screw it up. You know, I'm Christian, therefore my sins are forgiven. No, your sins were forgiven from the time before you knew he was there. After that, you've got to stay on the straight and narrow. And unfortunately, most people are not doing that. And what the heck did I do there? A, B, C. There we are. That is the biggest thing we have to take a look at. You know, for me, like when you take a look at the writing in the Elder Chronicles, I built Jeremiah. Like I played Aftermath, which was a post-apocalyptic game. That was easy to say back in the 80s. Some of you may recall it. The first character I had, somebody else built. I had the other gamers help me build and put it together. Well, the reality was I couldn't connect with him because I didn't know the game. I didn't know the character, etc., etc. So I played him to get used to the game. Then I built Jeremiah. Now, Jeremiah was, to say the least, he's got a lot of me in him with a little bit of a twist. In real life, in today's world, I'm a pacifist. I will not start a fight if I can avoid it. Unfortunately, I've got a temper that can be a little bit problematic on that end. What is DA? You know, he ended up Jeremiah learned how to talk his way out of virtually everything, but boy, talk about a pain when he got mad or when he decided he'd seen enough bullying. Jeremiah had a very big problem with bullies, and instead of just trying to talk them out of what they were doing, if that didn't work, he dropped me in the tracks. You know, and because of that, when you start reading the Elder Chronicles, you'll find Jeremiah is, shall we say, proficient in several forms of combat and linguistics. When you get so the Birds of the Wolf Pack, he is there. He's protecting his bar, as it were. It's not his bar. What was that? I know what it was. I'm just curious what it was. Oh, that'll have to wait till later. Um, you know, because Casey's Bar and Grill is where it all and where the game and where the book takes place. That's where it centers. And Jeremiah is kind of protective of his bar of that bar. So what ends up happening is he will defend it rather brutally, but he will also protect the innocent. Did I write the last word? Yep, I've got room for it. There we go. So and Jeremiah, Operation, how we doing? You came in with the bronze. I appreciate that regarding the show last night. I wasn't kidding. And it's something I should actually see if I've got. Open up. Where are we? Let us see. Where is Meet the Reptilians? No, meet the reticulans. Okay, gonna have to go open into that bin and see where it is. Meet the active. There we are. Whoops, it's in there. Meet the reticulum. Let's open that up because that will tell me. There we are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right now, I've got actually 9 that are clearly identified. Where are we here? I'm missing something here. Those are Zeta reticulans, those are the scientists. Are they listed? Yes. But I will have to take a look at that. Meet these. Oh, that's the Zeta reticulans. What are we? Oh, okay. This is what's called talking to myself while I'm opening things up. Open. Do not need that. I have to go to active documents. That's volume 2. There we are. Now we find. Oops. Find it. Where? Oh, fine. Do it that way. There we are. Now, that's exactly. Find next. Oh, well, that's intriguing, but can't enough poking around on that. I cannot see what I'm up to there. Here we are. Okay. Yeah, the thing there, Joe, and you find that special someone realistically in some pretty odd places. Okay, but you always if you go, if you're not meeting somebody, and this is a message to all of you. If you're not meeting that person that really catches your attention, where you're going to have to go someplace else because clearly they're not there. Now, in all fairness, yes, they may come into your area, but you only have control over what you're up to. D. Let's take a look at E. E is okay. Let's get this sorted out. And E. This is what is called a very tedious little thing. Well, see, the thing is, when we start looking at the way people are, okay, why does that bother me like that? Well, I know why it bothers me. Now, this tiny little book to make sure I'm getting the adjustments made right. Okay. See, the funny part about it is church is a great way to meet people that are focused on their religion. Absolutely. Oh, that's because of here. Let me see. Gee, that's why, because they're listed because I had to change the setting on them. Tell you, my brain is going in 17 different directions at this point. But guess I really should pay attention to what I'm doing. What do you think? That's E. E. So move that forward. So what do you think? Push those over there where we don't have to worry about them. That can get moved up afterwards, but right now is not the time to do it. You know, the thing is, when you're looking to find that special someone, first rule of thumb, and yes, I did hear what people asked, that I turn around and do it, and I forget exactly who asked, but I've got it marked. That I start giving people information on what to do with a relationship. And here's the real kicker to it. Okay, yes, all entities are attracted by something, usually a subconscious something, of another person. But the trick to actually making a relationship work at all is being honest from the get go. Okay, like when I first met Kira, and the whole topic came up, I told her flat out, Kira, my wife, I told her flat out, I was not moving from where I am. It just wasn't happening. Now, bearing in mind, she was in the States, and she was in Utah. So my telling her, I'm not moving, told her flat out, if you're going to get involved with me and your desire is to go anywhere, you're the one packing your bag. Okay, because I won't do it. Had she not been willing, the relationship would have died pretty quick. Okay, but you be honest, straightforward. Okay, I told her flat out, I got no problem with her, fine with her going to church, with her having her religious run. Don't try to convert me. Okay, the reality is, I am literally a part of every church out there, and I've yet to see one that doesn't actually measure up. They all teach the same thing, but I told her, I will absolutely support you in your efforts. And periodically, I'll probably go to church with you. Go to your temple. But am I ever going to convert? That will not happen. And she just had to get used to that idea right off the bat. Because if she didn't, there was going to be a problem. Because I hate to tell you this, but well, no, I don't. But I have one heck of a stubborn streak. And I'd already made the mistakes of trying to mess with other people's belief structures. So I just figured, no, I'll just lay it on the line. And like I told her, you ever lie to me, the odds are the relationship will die. Okay? Because what happens is the trust goes, and once that's gone, the relationship is going to collapse. Okay? Once that happens, you are pretty much hooked. But I told her, I said, I've helped people put relationships together after fidelity got thrown out the window, after they were cheating. I told her, with me, you ever cheat, there won't even be time to go, can we work it out? The answer is no. Okay, now needless to say, this also means there's not a prayer I'll ever cheat on her. You know, and that's just something you have to be straightforward right from the get-go. If you happen to have an addiction, tell your prospective partner, I have an addiction with this. If you don't, even if you're in self-denial, okay, you're going to have to face it sooner or later, or the relationship will not survive. Okay, I know that's hard for a lot of people to buy into, especially when you think that most people don't actually like looking in the mirror and going, "This is my problem." Okay, So what I'm doing here is literally going, okay, what have I got to work with? That can stay there. Now I do have to make sure when I get done here today, I've got a few things I have to do. And come to think of it, a couple of them have to wait till Monday at this point. But let us deal with this. This is again my list that I work with. Here we are. Now, I've long held that the list method works, but it only works if you follow through with what you're doing. Jeff Garvey, how you doing? Glad you could join us. You are in with honorable mention. Now we have 7 in the room, so I know that. So some of you may have come in before, but the reality is, if you don't say anything, I don't know you're here, other than the number count. Come to think of it, I should check that. Just because I'm very nosy. Let me see. Pop that to YouTube. I just want to see what our count is. You notice I take my glasses on and off a lot. It's because I can't see close with them, and I can't see the computer without them. Well, the monitor. Right. I'll be so happy at the end of this month. I think it's the 21st that I have I've got that. Yeah, we're sitting at 720 right now, so we are nicely climbing. And the reality is, like, if you ever meet me in person, I am the same way. Sad to say, my brain goes in several different directions all at once, and that can cause a problem. Where am I here? Let's go back to the actual screen. There we are. But I do my best to try and recognize people. And this is the thing: if you're running a business, when somebody enters the room, even if you're dealing with another customer and you see somebody enter your business, say hi. Something to the effect of, "Hi, I'll be right with you." Okay? It only takes a moment, and it makes all the difference in the world. Okay? Both the bank I deal with and the restaurant that I deal with. And these ones I will let you know the names. Okay? I deal with TD Canada Trust. I've been with them since they were simply a small company, a small trust company called Canada Trust. At that point, they were, you walk in the thing, and some teller or manager or somebody would say hi as you walk through the door. Even when Toronto Dominion bought them, Canada Trust itself is, at least the branch I go to, still does the same thing. They look at you when you come through the door. They say, "Hi, how's it going?" "Hi, welcome to TD." With Wings, the one outlet that I go to, and of course, Wings is a restaurant. You guessed it, they specialize in wings. It's weird, eh? Can't picture why they called it that. When you walk in, somebody will say hi to you as soon as they know you're there. Okay, this is something I learned when I had my first job. It was actually working in canteen, a beach canteen, and when I was 9 years old. And my mom literally did the same thing. A person would step in the line, and we used to have really bad lines. We wouldn't call everybody by name, okay, but we would make sure we acknowledged it in the fact that they arrived. You know what I'm looking at right now, and this is why I say I'm building an empire. What pray tell is that? I think I do that. Remember that thing about when you see something out of alignment, do yourself a favor and change it, like deal with it right away before it becomes problematic. There we go. Dropped a couple of cards on the floor. Don't know which ones. Oh, bonus. Security card that I dropped on the floor. Good idea. That always works nicely. Drop that in there. But yesterday, I think I was working on this and said I had run out of cards. Well, as it turns out, I didn't quite run out. I had the card left that I required. X, Y, I was right. Z. Well, that makes me happy. And that can now go here so I can finish the first 26. Where am I here? Okay. Yeah, they really are, Jeff. Like when I started working there, I was 9 years old. Okay. And because you gotta remember, even back then, I didn't like dealing with people face to face, like as far as in public land. I didn't have a whole pile of friends. I was just weird. Not in a nutshell. Not only did I see things and have the misfortune of not filtering it, but everybody around me was rock and roll. They were rock and roll. I don't even know if heavy metal was a thing then. I was country. They all wore jeans. I wore corduroy pants. Okay. They all wore runners. I wore platforms. So there was no mesh. Okay. None at all. Which is not the same as being no mesh. But I went from working, like I'd work every weekend, full time in the summer. Okay. Where I'd go in, I'd work the canteen, I'd run the whole line, like I'd do everything that was necessary in a canteen. The funny part was, by the time I was 12, okay, I was essentially running the canteen. I would spend my entire day in there doing inventory, putting the order together, balancing the cash register at the end of the night, at the end of the day. And yes, mom and dad would oversee the whole thing. Mom and dad, there were two things that I never did. They would do the month end. They would do the actual accounting books, but they'd feed off the books that I'd done, and they would feed the actual. They would actually phone in the order I had that I was placing. Something about being a 12-year-old phoning up Coca-Cola Company and going, I'd like 15 flats of Coca-Cola, 7 flats of root beer, you know, seven flats of orange, and 3 flats of ginger ale. Okay. Now bear in mind we are talking 24 cans of flat. And mom looked at me and goes, I think you're going to have a problem actually accepting that that is an actual order. So you put it together, we'll call it in. And then, of course, they did double check it. They had the same idea with Cadbury. Okay. You don't order, a 12-year-old ordering 2 boxes of O. Henry, 2 boxes of Sweet Marie, a box of Kit Kat. Yes, a 12-year-old's going to love it. The bonus was I didn't like chocolate. To this day, I don't like chocolate. I eat it once in a while because it's necessary. There's something in it that my body requires. So of course, the other thing was, I was not athletically inclined, right? So the reality was I was at a gym a lot of the time. All in all, it was really, I really didn't fit in today's world. I still have people complaining about what I'm doing. You know, Once they get to know that I'm a little off kilter or that I believe some of the things I do, it's amazing how many people I've talked to and that talk to other people and they'll go, and, I'm a UFO specialist. That's my world. And somebody goes to them and says, I think I saw a UFO. And what do? Oh, you're just trying to get attention. Okay. Or they write a book and somebody will turn around and go, they'll ask a question on somebody on a talk show and go, you know, here's the question. It's in the book. And this is why, I've got Race of the World right there. It's in the book. But I kid you not, I've seen big names. Hey, they've got a book out, and the person will ask them a question on air. And they go, oh, it's in my book. Buy my book. This is what I call, quite frankly, it's money grubbing. Okay? You're not there to answer questions. When I go on air, and this is why I say if you've got a question, absolutely ask. On here, on Positive Perceptions, I will absolutely give you an honest answer. It may not be the answer you're looking for, but it will be honest. And I will tell you, if there are any books that you do desire to get, right now, I've only got the physical copy of Believing Your Success and Follow Your Dreams. Okay, but with that in mind, we will be getting it on PDF ASAP. But if you desire the physical copy, I've got them in stock. Okay, and in your hand, they're only $20 anywhere in continental North America. Okay, I checked the price for that. Kitty Cat, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I will pass that on to her, Kitty Cat. She is currently, and I think I mentioned this to you guys, but Kira is a professionally trained classical flutist. Okay, she's aiming to get into the busking world, and just landed a gig at Wings. Now when is it? I gotta take a peek. It's the 21st to the 22nd, that much I know. It's the 21st. No, it's the 22nd. On the 22nd of this month, she will be performing. She will be performing in wings with her own repertoire. Now she is classically trained. I know what a flute is, and that's pretty much where it ends. But given the way it has to be, oh, it's phenomenal to hear her play. It really is. And the knowledge that she's got on it, you know, she can, when I'm on here, the reality is, if you've got questions regarding flute and or music in general, absolutely ask her. If she's sitting here, there's no reason not to ask her. Okay. With that in mind, you know, she's the one that's got the answers. I can't tell you. I know which end of the flute to blow on, if that helps. But that's pretty much where my knowledge base ends. What am I doing here? But no, it's wonderful to hear her play, and to watch the people hearing her play. That is something that is just absolutely bizarre. You know, because people will like, and I know this happens. Okay, I'm just waiting for it to occur at this point. Okay, but I've seen buskers where people are walking by and they'll hear the person play, and then the people will stop and listen. Now, fortunately, she does all the research, so we don't have a problem there. She's going to start busking as soon as it warms up. Because I'll tell you right now where it is. Right now up here, we're looking for what the temperature is. Our temperature right now is 6 degrees, which is about 34, 35. Okay. Now, I don't know about you, but that's a little cold to be hanging on the metal and putting it against your lips. Okay. So when it warms up, which should be in about a month or two, she'll start playing outside. And we'll see what happens there. But I'm absolutely certain that she is going to do very well with it. Okay, what do we got here? So like I told her, she asked me, she told me when the event, and when she booked the gig, she goes, "Oh, wait a minute, we can't do it that day." Unfortunately, she told me and not the guy who was trying to book her. She goes, "But you've got your game on Sunday." I said, "Well," and I wasn't thinking about it. I just looked and I went, "Game just got canceled." I have always held family first, work second, entertainment third. Okay. So bear in mind, sometimes family and entertainment can get a little crossed over. But I never turn down work, when work is available. But you look at that. We have 9 people in the area, in the room now. And, I'm amazed. I love it, don't get me wrong, and your guys' input has literally been what's helped keep me going. Rest assured, I won't be taking up an instrument. I did learn when I was a kid. I learned to play piano, and I learned to play organ, but I only had 3 months training in either because the instructor I was working under, turned out to be very prejudiced and hypocritical. She would treat the girls one way and the guys another, and I couldn't tolerate the lack of continuity, or more to the point, the prejudice involved. So I dropped both, and I learned to play the guitar. Well, there is no way I'll pick up a guitar because I can't get my hand to work properly anymore. Stroke will really screw things up on occasion. But find something you're real content with. And one of the biggest things, and this is why I say I'm building an empire. Now, understand, your empire may be nothing more, well, may be limited to a well run, well organized house. That may be your idea of an empire. And more power to you. Nobody said everybody had to have an empire the size of Alexander the Great or Genghis Khan's. You just didn't have to do it. Okay. In my case, I intend on reaching the world. And that is literally because of the support I've gotten from you guys. Let's see something here. We actually logged out. Oh, we are logged out of that. And that's okay. I'm just checking to see where we're standing. And we'll refresh that. Refresh that being refresh the YouTube channel I'm watching. Okay, because I am looking to see if it grows. But the thing is, there is so much negativity out there right now. And like I said, I fought depression 90% of my life. Sometimes I just give up on fighting it and go, no, I'm just going to be depressed. This is not a good outlook, by the way. Oh, what is that? And again, if you come up with topics that you really would like to delve into, absolutely ask. That is why. Where is that? Okay, I have right now. Where are we? Let's see that. 77 2. I've got 12 topics already listed to be dealt with. Okay, from all kinds of angles. But right now, like tonight, we are going to be looking at the similarities between space events and Star Wars. Mike Jones requested it, so we're dealing with it. And then again, on Sunday, on the 8th, we're going to be dealing with energy vampires. What are they? Then on Monday, we're going to take a look at the financial manipulation. On Tuesday, we're going to discuss get to know your neighbor. Okay. Yes, I'm putting in under the self-help umbrella because of the fact that you get to know your neighbor and you stabilize the energy in your neighborhood. All of a sudden, your life works better, and that's just the reality behind it. Okay. Terrible when you got water and coffee. It's like, which one do I really desire to drink? Well, thank heavens I gave up the idea of drinking alcohol to that speed. Because the speed you guys watch me drink coffee, I used to drink alcohol, specifically rye neat. Okay. And my drink of choice was Crown. Was Crown Royal. Simply because it was what I liked. Right. I'd drink anything. That was the problem. I'd walk into the bar and somebody, the bartender would look at me and go, Keith, we got a spare screwdriver. Would you like it? Because somebody would order it and then they'd say, no, I don't want it, or they'd say that was wrong. Of course, I get a kick out of people that drink, going to the bartender going, I'd like a rye ginger. No, you made it wrong. It's like if you're making it wrong in the bar, go home and drink. And I'll tell you, that's a bad idea. I did that too. This is why I say, when I used to drink, I drank as much as I do now. Only I drink more coffee than I did rye. But Jeremiah in the Ilderbachian Chronicles, his drink of choice is rye neat. Okay. And therefore, of course, that was because I was a drinker. That's also what I drank at the gaming table. Everybody was drinking beer. I'd bring my own rye. I'd drink beer if I didn't have rye available. Surface, how are you? Glad you could join us. And again, Service, I didn't see you come in, but glad you're here. If you've got a question, absolutely put it in all caps. Okay. And I'm not sure. I know you call yourself Surface Planet Radio. Do you actually have your own station? Actually, I think you do. I know it was on a show the other day, and dang if I know who it was. Well, I know who the name was. What? Where am I here? Um, Let us find that out just because I'm curious at this point. Nope, try that. There we are. Open that up. I'm actually over in on the Facebook page right now. Okay, what do we got here? I'm just trying to figure out. No. Um, oh, there we are. Oh, my apologies, Surface. I forgot the name that you were dealing with. And as you guys know, you know, Surface Planet here. Where am I? Let's go back to where I was so I can see what I'm doing. Okay. Yeah, Surface Planet. I will tell you, look up his station. And let's see if I actually have that. Um, I don't know how to do that side of it, but definitely look up Surface Planet Radio. You know, like I was on his show a little while ago, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed the whole atmosphere. It was different. I mean, let's face it. I've been on Spaced Out for a decade. You know, so I got used to Dave's way of doing it. You know, Surface does it a little different than Dave does, but well worth listening to. You know, there are topics I won't touch here. Yeah, so it goes. You can Google it. Absolutely, you can. And I'll tell you, for everybody else, I'll tell you right now. Absolutely, Google it. And here's the reason: because I can't tell you where it is. I don't have a problem with that side of it. I do my best to make this a safe environment for everybody. Unfortunately, Tech and I have an agreement. It works when it chooses to, and if it chooses to work wrong, I get frustrated and it dies. You know, but I will absolutely tell you drop in and listen. Same as I'll tell you drop in to Spaced Out. You know, now yes, I have my own outlook on things, and to say the least, I'm a little less than subtle. Tape the dongle. Is there anything else? That's all clear, so that's good. You know, when I look at the state this world is in, there is so much negativity being propagated. I have to remind people, or I feel I have to remind people, there are a lot more people getting married than getting murdered. Okay, there's a lot more people giving birth than dying, or being born than dying. This is just the reality of it. That is G. There we are. And this is why I refuse to deal with so much of the negative. I mean, it exists. I'm not saying it doesn't. You know, but the reality of it is, There's way more positive things happening. And the fact that I'm fighting depression 90% of my time does not mean that good things do not happen. It just means I have trouble with this world. I was actually asked one day how I even function in this world. Because the reality is this: computers and I do not get along. You know, and they don't always do what I ask them to do. Yeah. Tell you. I will be so, and I know I've said it before, I will be so happy when I get these boxes replaced. We are now at 4:38, which means we're down to 20 minutes. Okay. Yes, I start early sometimes because, well, let's face it, I get babbling and away I go. You know, but I am constantly looking for things to actually deal with. You know, topics that do require looking into. You know, the reality is, people, I tell people, do not leave dead air. But the reality is, on this particular stream, I'm actually working in the office, getting things done. So the reality from that standpoint is that I turn around, you know, is that I turn around and I stop because I'm actually doing something in the office to make the empire grow. And so far, it's doing not too terribly badly. It's slow, but I am not in a hurry. Like I was mentioning earlier regarding Skyrim. Okay, it's the one video game I do play, probably too much on occasion. You know, but I'm just not in a hurry to go anywhere with it. I think I've got that in here. I think she just has. No, not there. I will fill that in when I come across it again. See, what I'm doing, especially if you're, and this is something I've implemented right away here, you know, with when you're looking at a small company, and it's very easy to do when it's small. It gets more problematic as it grows, right? But I've got things I'm testing out for the moment until it gets too cumbersome to do so. I am keeping track of when people are born, not so that I can keep tabs on people per se. I guess you could call it that. But because if there's one thing I did find out, it's that people like getting a card or acknowledgement on their birthday. This is just a global thing. It has nothing to do with what is right or wrong for other people. Okay. So I look at it going, okay, if I happen to have your birthday, I'm doing my best to say happy birthday to people. Even people that, and there are these people that exist, even people I absolutely have no interest in seeing, I will still say happy birthday because they still have a good quality about them somewhere. I know this for a certain. Okay. Unfortunately, I don't get along with everybody. Matter of fact, it's probably a good thing. Can you picture a world where everybody agreed with what I said? Boy, would that ever be a confusing world. Please tell me that was on. It was. Good. You know, but my dad always told me, you know, always treat people the way you desire to be treated. You know, so if you desire people to treat you decently, do so. So I'm tracking people's birthdays, you know, but the reason for it is to simply say happy birthday. That's it. I will not be using it for, oh, by the way, here's a new product that I've got out. You know, I'm looking at the other side of it. You know, let me ask you this. Where it comes to your birthday, what and I'm curious if I'm going to get a response to this. When it comes to your birthday, what are the things you look forward to? Not necessarily, I'd really like a car for my birthday. I'll tell you, I did buy a car for my first wife's Christmas. She was really intent on desiring a Mustang. Okay, so I bought her one. It was about an inch and a half long, but it did fit under the tree. You know, so this is, I am no millionaire at this point by any functional stretch, but I do believe that keeping the small town attitude, that idea of saying hi, saying Merry Christmas. I know some of you don't celebrate Christmas. I could get into that, but because I proved beyond a shadow of a doubt to this one Jewish lady, I proved to her beyond a shadow of a doubt in her mind that she celebrated Christmas, even though she swore she didn't. I know I'm not going to do that right now. That's just not on the game plan. Okay. Well, I'm going to fall over here. That's not good. You know, but I figure even when my company gets big, I still desire to send, birthday cards or birthday greetings. Granted, I'll probably be doing it over email for one reason. Let's face it, the cost of mail today is not only exorbitant, but it's unreliable. More so than what the internet is. Funny thing is, you go back 100 years when we had the Pony Express. Okay, you could write a letter in on the West Coast and have it delivered on the East Coast 10 days later by horseback. Okay, now it takes you 2 months. I got a birthday card from one of you people. Okay, on my last birthday, it was sent out and dated on my birthday. 3 months later, it showed up. Now, this is absolutely appalling service. You know, in Kelowna here where I live, I can send a letter to somebody in Kelowna, and it takes them a week to get it. As you can well imagine, I'm not impressed with the return response time. This is why I say I'm doing my best to make certain that when I get an order for something, I respond within 3 business days. Now, I've been really badly lax on some of that. Okay. Oddly enough, I actually take longer. It sometimes takes me longer to, to get an email responded. Okay, just because I get sidetracked. It doesn't take long, but that reminds me. Gotta do that. Things I gotta do. Of course, once I get down here, and that's about 15 minutes away. Okay, I will carry on with my night. You can bet your bottom dollar I will end up going back to play Skyrim for a little. Where are we here? There we are. Of course, the neat part here is I'm setting it up so that continues to happen. You know, and the way I got asked by somebody, well, if you're doing this all by hand, it's going to get to a point where it is way too cumbersome. Like every month, when I send out Positive Perspectives, the free magazine, okay, I send it out. I address each one. I do send it 12 at a time using blind copy. Okay, but I do that every month. I go through my one box in order to identify who's getting the card or getting the email, right? And I got to ask, well, it's going to get to the point where you can't do that. So how do you go about it? And that's where I look at it going, well, the reality is you do what you can with it, and if I have to, I hire people. Right now, I'm pretty much on my own on it, and that's okay. It's working quite nicely for me. Where are we here? And we refresh that just because I'm checking. Sometimes, like yesterday, when we were on the air, right? When I was on with Positive Perceptions, okay. While I was on air, we started off. We had 717 people, right? 717 subscribers. By the end of the show, we had 720. This is why I keep going back to double check. So what is this? Of course, I leave stuff out so I can find it. That's okay. So this should be L then. And L. There we are. So I've got a very methodical method of doing things. The thing is, I run on instinct. And quite frankly, I run on both instinct and emotion. You know, and the catch there is I was raised to think, I was taught how to analyze. Now, of course, very important factor, guys, and this is literally to those of you desiring yet to continue receiving or start receiving the free magazine. All I require from you is an email address. Okay. I'll send it anywhere. Matter of fact, I should actually do that. Figure out where we are. What is it now? I literally am looking at things going, how do I move forward with this? How do I keep that close connection with people? And yeah, I've been very clear. Okay. Been very clear with people. I don't spend a lot of time around people. I find it very difficult. I like the way that Barry Allen, aka DC the Flash from DC Comics. I love the way he put it in a recent movie. People have a certain rhythm that I just don't get. Okay, it just doesn't mesh for me. So I do my best to work with it, but it isn't something that stays stable all the time. You know, so I just work with what I can and carry on from there. Oh, look at this. Who is M? M is. There we are. Okay, that works out well. That literally took me through the first, and this is why I say I don't do this all at once. That took me through the first 13 people in the one box, just getting the baseline set up. Because I'm redoing it. What I did, I made a mistake with the tree line. Okay, so I know what the mistake was, but I've got to rebuild from the ground up. The neat thing is now I've got a minimum that I require to live my life. When the inner voice is generating 2,500 a month, then when my company is generating that, I will start putting somewhere between around the 80%. I'm going to go with 70 for the moment. I've got to work out, and I just don't recall the number. But the lion's share of the net profit over 2,500 will be going back to people such as yourselves. And this is down the road because I don't know how long it's going to take. Okay, but people that are introducing me to other people, i.e., through book purchases. And I was thinking, yes, there is something that's going to happen way down the road. Right now, I'm literally tracking it because I do it by hand. I literally track everything that goes through, but there is no way I'm going to reach everybody on the planet. Okay, when it gets, at least not at this point, let's face it, I don't reach the Congo. I'm pretty certain of it, but I am curious where people are connecting with me. Whether, and I do mean what country and what country and state or province. Okay, and I'm doing that just to get an idea what the coverage is. Now I know I've got people that I've reached all over the world. Okay, it was funny because I believe it was Joe Stewart, and if I'm mistaken on that, absolutely forgive me. Hopefully, but I had made the comment I desire to go global, and I believe it was Joe that turned around and says, "Keith, you're already reaching Australia. You're already global." Okay, and I know I've had people contact me from France, and I'm talking by email. I don't get phone calls from France, that sort of thing. Probably a good thing because about the only thing I remember in French is "Je ne sais pas parler français." Also meaning I don't speak French. I also remember in Spanish how to go, "Yo no hablo español." And pardon the pronunciation, I'm not fluent in either. Okay, but in Spanish, that means I don't speak Spanish. Okay, this is why if you're going to talk to me, you best be communicating in English, because I don't do the other. Okay, and it's not that I I don't like the other languages. I used to pull very good marks when I was learning them, but I have enough trouble remembering what I'm saying in English. Never mind in another language. So I've got things here to deal with those right as soon as I get done. And where are we? Oh, look at that. We are down to the last 5 minutes here. I am getting my eyes done, I think the 21st. Pretty certain of it, but it might be the 23rd. I'm not sure. But I tell you, I am looking forward to having my eyeballs work. Now, with all this in mind, again, let's just take a peek at this. Tonight, we are going to be looking at the similarities between space events and Star Wars, as requested per Mike Jones. On Sunday, we are going to be working at energy vampires. What are they? On Monday, we're looking at the financial side, financial manipulation. And then on Tuesday, we're going to take a look at the social side, self-help, get to know your neighbor. Okay, this is the way this is going. Okay, and I'll figure out the rest of it as we go along. If you got an idea for topics, absolutely drop me a line, let me know. I will be back again tonight. Okay, I will be back here tonight at 8 p.m. PST Okay, dealing with positive perception. Come on in, ask your questions. That's why I'm there. Okay, but I do have a topic to start with. That said, until then, do take care of you. I really want to say thank you. I stumbled over that. Well, figured out I got to do this first. So, I want to say thank you so very much for sharing your time with us today. I really appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you again. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.